Throughout the human history, cities are played important role in transforming the society. Due to social, economic, political and cultural change, the urban pattern completely took shape in the last century. The present urban pattern, although largely a creation of the last century, had its origin thousands of years ago. In the several of the very regions which are currently experiencing explosive urban growth, the history of the cities have four phases in the classification. The early phase, where the primary urbanization took place, the Greco-Roman period, the middle period from 5th century AD, the industrial period from 17th century till now. The urban history of India starts from the early phase. The first cities of India grew up in the wake of agricultural revolution of the Neolithic period from 8000 to 3500 BC. Agricultural development was started through many scientific methods and with technological progress. Due to wheeled cart, ox driven plough, sailing boats, irrigation canals and technological skills improved agriculture very much. Many farmers began to grow more food grains. Gradually, crop diversity took place. Many farmers, due to progress in agriculture and bumper food crops, they changed their occupation from agricultural to non-agricultural sectors. Hand manufacturing and trade began to help to form small towns in the locality. Some people who were very rich were engaged in collection and distribution of surplus food grains. This way, the first trading centers were the first cities in the urban structure. Gradually, the trade became backbone of the earlier cities. Major trading routes between many trading centers began fast growth. New trading cities opened in district headquarters. All these were primary urban centers with the internal forces. The primary activity like agriculture supported many urban centers in the early phase. These areas were Mesopotamia, Indus Valley, North China, Mesoamerica, Central Andes and Southwest Nigeria. The exact form of cities in these areas is though different, but they have broad similarities. Most of the cities were walled around to keep themselves by the neighboring communal defenses. The city wall function acted as an area limiting to control the settlement as well as division between protected and unprotected sites. Within the city wall, the population came under the direct control of ruling elite. Within the city walls, there was a marked residential segregation. The central place of the city wall was for the site of palace. Then around the cities, hierarchical sectors like granary, community storehouse, temples, churches were built. Even the largest cities were smaller below the 1 lakh population. The population number was very less because of following many reasons. Agriculture was so cumbersome, tactic and labor intensive. The size was also limited by available farmland. The transportation facility was clumsy. The sailboats were inefficient to carry goods from one place to other place. Sometime the ox carts, camel caravan were also used to carry bulky goods from one place to other. So, the labor was very costly in this transportation system. There were many political limitations in existing transport system and communication. The first urban centers were city states in as Egypt in the Sumerian region. The early cities led a precarious existing many natural calamities like flood, famine and drought conditions made people to die on and then. Even warfare and chronic diseases were also controlling the growing population very much. Due to the opening of Mediterranean sea route, many new cities began to develop from their structure in the locality. The new cities were Byblos, Ugarit, Tyre and Sidon. These cities were though trade centers, but their population was very less. In the same time, the caravan centers in desert region of Syria were developed. The Greek and the Roman period. This is a very crucial period. The cultural and financial capitals gradually transmitted old cities into new one by Greece, Italy traders and colonists. These traders introduced a new concept of cities. During the first and second millennium BC, many cities came up with a new shape in Persia, Central Asia, Ceylon and Indian subcontinent. The Greek Dark Age ended in 776 BC, when the first Olympic Games took place. There, the small cities began to rule by aristocrats. The population of the cities were limited to 20,000. Most of the cities in this period were built on the top of the hills along with the religious temples, and on the slopes of the mountains there was an agriculture background. Most of the Greek cities were very near to seas and oceans. Even the agriculture background of many villages supported these cities. Thus, the Greek civilization spread the new urban concept throughout the world. The Athens city became a daughter settlement around the Mediterranean Sea. Greeks were the primary people to start many secondary trading centers on the coastal line of the Mediterranean Sea. Here, the cities like Naples, Cyrene, Alexandria, Massilia were the first millennium cities grew with scientific advancements. New technological advancements made progress. Coinage encouraged trade and urban setup. Italy, Asia Minor, North Africa, Spain were developed in modern way. Romans extended the Greek urban tradition throughout the world. Rome was imperial city. Roman Empire spread its advancements in nearby area. Nile Valley also followed like Rome in advancement and structure. The cities like Turin, Eris, Nimes, Lyons, Paris, London, Cologne and many other new cities followed the path of Rome in structure and development. These great cities were very much influenced by Roman architecture, sculpture, law and language by Western Europe. The Roman did more than the form of earlier cities. They also accepted the notion of the city as center of the culture. The Roman Empire fell in the 5th century AD. This marked the effective end of the urbanization in the Western Europe. Up to 17th century, almost all cities in Europe grew very slowly. Here the urbanization in Europe was seized because of several reasons. Those reasons are like this. Spatial interaction. When the Roman Empire was collapsed, many localities in Europe became isolated. Their productive system was completely changed. The entire transport system was disturbed and eliminated the trade between many cities. With the lack of trade and transportation, the population number for rural and urban area became less and less. The communication network became very weak. Lack of innovation in technical change reinforced the growth patterns. The tribes who were agriculturally dominated in Europe, they left cities and began to live in small villages. Due to agriculture setup, Asian cities were enriched in development and progress. In the Middle and North Africa, the Islamic world, the tradition cities were also existed and thrived down through the century. After the fall of Roman Empire, the new fortified settlements were grown up everywhere, but their size was very, very small. Most of the residents of the cities began to spend their life within the city walls. Religious leaders began to control the urban societies. Within the social organization, each person had a clearly defined place. Family, church, and many other temples began to play a feudal administration. Mercantilism is another important economic policy to help the population. The mercantilism policy was included the protection of merchants' interest. The city thus became a growth center and trade kept it alive. Mercantilism is new idea of a city. It was helping merchants and they were also controlled in favor of society. The middle class merchants and industrial capitalists were greatly resented. Because of this system, the new force of capitalism was pushed away and it has great effect on poor class feeling the great hardship. This way, the capitalism led to the emergence of industrial city. The arrival of Western colonialism, the traditional societies, the system of colonialism started new kind of commercial cities in Europe. The same process of grafting and creation of a new Western commercial cities occurred in Middle and North Africa. Thus, throughout the non-European world, the principal historical pattern in urban development has been profound impact of the European city. When the Industrial Revolution broke out, the great economic activity took place before the end of 18th century and it was flourished during the 19th century. The factory system attracted more concentration towards many capital cities, around many capital cities, and factories, new dwellings of residents and railway yards began to grow very much. In England, the Manchester city became a symbol of new industrial revolution. Thus, after industrial revolution, the population of many cities began to grow at alarming rate. London, Amsterdam cities grew up by 2 to 3 times. The employment opportunities were also open to youths. Along with industrial cities, new agriculture cities came up over agriculture fields. Gradually, hamlets or villages or farm towns became big cities. Then the structure of cities was abnormally changed into modern facilities. When the cities were grown up and overcrowded, many problems also arose. Slum development, pollution, traffic jam, accidents increased rapidly and made cities haphazard. Socially, the cities were also changed. Drunkenness, prostitution, crime, robberies began to make city life unhealthy. The form of industrial city was distinct. At the center were the factories and railway yards constituting the business and industrial core. It was also called Central Business District, which is CBD. Around this core, the poor housing areas of mass workers led to slum development. In separate localities, there were rich people's layouts. No more were the cities in the same place. They were radically transformed in terms of morphology, social character and economic functions.